Today I'm reviewing The Walking Dead Season 10, Episode 21, Diverged. So this episode again was quite unique, but not like a snowflake, more like when you see a vegetable shaped like an arse. I want to say I've seen very mixed opinions on this episode, but I've honestly seen the worst on any episode of most TV shows I've seen. It's not even one of those situations where most people either love it or they hate it. With this episode, you either think it was alright, or you think it was awful. Now, straight away, my opinion of this episode is, it was okay. It is in no universe great. I would describe this episode as just being really unbalanced in the way that so many boxes were left unticked. For example, there was representation, but it's like they forgot about the entertainment part. There was still some important stuff in this episode, but it was just hidden in plain sight. This episode doesn't really feed you any of that. It kind of just appeared and didn't really show that anything was of any importance, but there was some stuff of importance. But I think a lot of people watching this episode felt like they were having a third-person out-of-body experience. So I'm going to break it down, tell you what I found, what I thought of it, and what I think is going to happen next. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe so that you're the first to see my videos. And of course, make sure you check out the Discord. I'm going to start making more Discord-based videos very soon. So, episode 21 starts off with Daryl, Carol, and Dog walking, and that's the whole episode. But we already knew the title of the episode, Diverged, was referencing Carol and Daryl parting ways and going on their own journeys, and hopefully at the end of the episode they'd reunite and their friendship would be healed. But we didn't really get that. We got Daryl, he went off on his own. He fell over a few times. But then we had Carol with her really mundane challenges, her errands, and a really repetitive storyline that she keeps having. Which would be fine, but it's got to the point where it's tedious now, it's hard to watch, it's boring. Especially in an episode as empty and plain as this. And I want to straight away say as early as I can in this video, yes, there was representation. The rat represented Carol and her issues and her turmoil and regret, her sorrow. It represented her inner conflict. That's why in this episode she almost battles it, spends the majority of it finding the rat, and at the end it leaves in the way that her inner conflict, all of this sorrow, leaves. That's why the press that got to see this episode a month ago compared it to the Breaking Bad episode Fly, in the way that the rat and the fly in both episodes in both the shows represented the characters' inner conflict. In Breaking Bad, the fly buzzed around Walter White, like the guilt that he had. Jesse kills the fly, but at that end, another one appears while Walter's trying to sleep. This is mainly about his guilt towards Jane. And in this episode of The Walking Dead, it was the rat and Carol in the same way. Her regret, her sorrow. Some positives about this episode is Jerry. I think he was really good in it. Remember, this episode is trying to show us the ordinary days of Alexandria. They've just had a whole herd go in there, and they're rebuilding after the Whisperer War. So in this episode, we see the ordinary, everyday tasks. That's why this episode was never going to be the most exciting, the most eventful. This is the everyday stuff that happens at Alexandria. This is stuff that just wouldn't normally make it into an episode because, well, you wouldn't want to see Jerry farm or Carol make soup, would you?
Alright, here you go. Oh, smells like Daryl.
Smells like Daryl. I don't even want to think of what she means by that. A mix between depression and I don't even. No, I'm not doing it. Whilst Carol is gathering the ingredients to begin with Jerry's soup, she hears Dog in the other room making a mess. She goes in there.
Stop that! Back off!
She picks up a book. The Golden Age of Piracy, a book by Hugh F. Rankin, a book of historical stories of the most famous pirates during the Golden Age of Piracy. I think this is simply referencing how Daryl and Carol will leave the show, yet more inspiration to both leave on a boat at the end of season 11 and have their own spin-off show. Of course, with Carol having done it before, this book is telling us that. They've mentioned New Mexico a few times, so they could aim for there, that's pretty obvious. But being on a boat, they could end up anywhere. Of course, this book in particular being about pirates, a lot of the battles that I spoke about in the book take place at sea, in ships. That could mean their new spin-off takes place a lot of the time at sea. And although their first place would be New Mexico, they'd be going all around. I think that's what they need to do, because this episode showed Carol and Daryl in a really dim and boring light. So for example, once it's been filmed and they release a trailer for this spin-off in the future, let one of the things that pull viewers in be the many new locations that Daryl and Carol will encounter, and not just a whole show dedicated to these boring adventures they took, because this episode has not done them any favours at all. We already knew their spin-off would take them to new locations that The Walking Dead has never explored before, but the idea of these two having their own show alone won't be the most exciting after this episode. Like, I found it okay, but I just don't really want to see Carol for a while now. And it's not been confirmed yet that Carol and Daryl leave to go and find Rick, but from what we know right now, it's definitely more likely they leave after the Rick Grimes and CRM storyline has been dealt with. Again though, it's not been confirmed they could go and find him, but we've already got Michonne going to do that. It doesn't make much sense. I mean, it doesn't mean she's going to succeed, but the phrase used when Michonne left was bring him home. I just feel like for the average viewer, do you really want to be sending all these characters out to go and find Rick? It's like they're setting themselves up to confuse people. And the whole principle of Carol and Daryl leaving by themselves on a boat is to get away, to go on to new things, because that's the conversation they had about going to New Mexico. Carol spoke about how their current life is enemies come, enemies go. It's the same thing. They spoke about getting away from that. And so I do think they are the future of The Walking Dead once the main show ends. Something that comes to mind is Blackbeard. Now, what the fuck are you talking about, George Blackbeard? Well, the golden age of piracy, Blackbeard is the most popular pirate of all time. Typically. And it got me looking the history of Blackbeard up. It just intrigued me. It led me to finding out he was born in Bristol, in the UK, and he died in North Carolina. Ocracoke, whatever the fuck that means. It sounds like some kind of drugs for sea creatures. No, he died in Ocracoke Island. It might not be pronounced like that. I should probably just stop talking. No, but the way this book about pirates has foreshadowed how they leave, it makes you think, how far out are they going? Of course, as we said, we know they want to go to New Mexico. That's something they've thought about. And I've always imagined how they leave is them on the bike. But if it is by boat, how far out could they go? They could go to Brazil, and knowing Daryl, probably end up in fucking Antarctica. That's just how it looks to me. It's foreshadowing they're going to leave on a boat, which is why New Mexico and looking for Rick even doesn't make sense. After Carol sets up a trap to hopefully catch the rat, she goes out to fetch more ingredients, and she comes across loads of walkers and just takes them out. A whole group of them, and she just does it, just off screen. That's a plot breaker. The amount of times these characters have run away from just a small number of them, and she just kills them. This scene didn't do anything for the episode. It didn't make it any more exciting. It was literally pointless.
Hey! Stop moving!
That'll teach him. Now, another thing this episode kind of just hid in plain sight, it didn't feed you it, is Daryl coming across walkers that were in the military. He comes across a whole group with uniform on. There's been some kind of accident with smoke coming out of the area where they are. And as he approaches what appears to be some kind of crash site, all these walkers follow behind him, and that was a really good scene. The first military walker that he comes across is one stuck in a tree. Did he come from the sky? Well, Daryl certainly did. That's the most embarrassing thing he has ever done. He's been so different in these bonus episodes. I've made excuses for him like it's the end of the Whisperer War, Maggie's back, he's got a reason to be happy and act different. But the falling, that's all on you. After he falls, the walker breaks out of the tree branch, falls onto him, and as Daryl is holding the walker up, he grips his sleeves, and it's clear a lot of intended focus is put onto the American flag attached to them. It's showing us at least the clothes they're wearing are from the US military, but why? Well, look at how much this walker turned out to have on him. All of the supplies, the ammo. The last person we saw with military gear was the Reaper in episode 17. In fact, it was even sooner than that. It was Maze. I think these are dead Reapers, and we will hear the mention of these Reapers again. Don't forget, the windmill we saw burnt Alexandria gets burned somehow. The Reapers burned Maggie's people. What do we see here? Smoke, military uniform, military gear, smoke, fire. With how long these walkers have appeared to be dead, they've likely been here for quite some time. Instead of the Reapers being ex-military, what if they just killed the real military and got their stuff? This is simply leftovers. And then we get a scene of Carol talking to Dog and she's talking about leaving again. It's just so repetitive with her now. I'm all for their spin-off show. I'm excited for it. It's going to be good. But this episode should have been given to some other characters. I mean, for a start, Virgil and Connie. That would have actually achieved something, because at the end of this episode, once Daryl arrives back at Alexandria, they don't reunite, no more communication is had. They still have that awkward air between them. Yeah, we saw that they still cared about each other, but we already knew that. It was at this scene where she attacked the wall, she went mad on it. They showed she was having a little breakdown. That I knew, yeah, they just haven't got the execution there. So many boxes are left unticked. Yeah, we get the point, the representation, she's gonna have a little breakdown now. I fucked up, I need to get over things, but the episode just wasn't entertaining. But what do you think? Did you enjoy this episode? Is it really that bad? Who do you think these military walkers are? Were they Reapers or victims of the Reapers? Make sure to let me know what you think down below. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure you press the like button. It will help me out and get this video seen by more people. If so, then check out my other videos. Check out this one, where we look at the new missing person teaser. A long lost character is returning. But who? And of course, make sure you subscribe, so that you are the first to see my videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.